Penguin Random House Audio presents Disability Intimacy. Essays on love, care, and desire. Edited by Alice Wong. Read by a full cast. For me, I love you very much. You deserve everything you desire. Introduction. Alice Wong. Having a progressive neuromuscular disability means expecting the unexpected and knowing my body will become weaker with a timeline and mind of its own. In June 2022, my body rang alarm bells. My ability to swallow slowly diminished, becoming more difficult. I adapted for a while by eating only soft foods and liquids and tilting my head down to prevent choking. I was losing weight and my nutrition was declining, but I still thought I could manage despite being unable to swallow completely and regurgitating half a sip of latte or a bite of yogurt or peanut butter. I loved coffee and was unwilling to let go of a life of flavor and pleasure. Coughing and not eating for several days in a row, I felt bad, but didn't realize the danger I was in. After several days, something shifted. I texted my sister, who was out of town for work, and asked if she could come back the next day and take me to the ER. My friend Steve dropped off some pudding after learning I'd stopped eating and asked if I should go immediately, but I wanted to wait for my sister. My older parents did not have the stamina to stay with me in the ER, since a visit could take 24 hours or longer, depending on waiting time. In the pit of my growling, empty stomach, I knew another turning point in my disability was approaching fast. Its gravitational pull was impossible to deny. I ended up developing aspiration pneumonia, which was compounded by a collapsed lung, unbeknownst to me. I spent 4 weeks in the ICU that summer and almost died more than once. When I was discharged, I left with a fundamentally altered body, tethered to a feeding tube and tracheostomy with a ventilator. I could no longer speak or eat, and had numerous medical needs requiring additional significant care. It was the most harrowing time of my life, and it continued well after I got home. Death is an intimate partner of mine. I know its motions and shadowy presence. The relationship I have to death, dying, and suffering is inextricably linked to how I want to live. My recovery has been slow and continues to this day. In the last 2 years, I have been soothed by waves of love and care from my friends and family. As I adjusted to a new body and intensive health care needs, friends and acquaintances stepped up, offering support, resources, and time. Being high risk, I self-isolated during the fall and winter with multiple viruses and the interminable COVID pandemic in full effect. Paid caregivers came in and out of my home every day, and I had to reduce my exposure by declining indoor gatherings with friends and visits to my favorite places, such as museums, cafes, and bakeries. Instead, I sent silly cat memes and GIFs, shared snarky and bitchy comments, praised and celebrated with my friends via texts, emails, and Zoom sessions. Waves of love kept me afloat, despite feeling adrift from shore. I was lonely, but I wasn't alone. My memoir, Year of the Tiger: An Activist's Life, debuted in fall of that year, and I also began work editing the anthology you are reading right now. Slowing down and resting is radical, but I also felt an urgency to work. I wanted to create this book with my editorial team at Vintage, Anna Kaufman and Ellie Pritchett. Our conversations were generative and gave me something to look forward to, adding much-needed variety to my mundane and time-consuming daily care routine. Wrangling these magnificent cats the contributors for disability intimacy, and reading and editing their work was a joy. Creating something was a critical lifeline, just like the breaths of air from my ventilator and the liquid nutrition flowing into my feeding tube. I consider this book as my latest labor of love, and am grateful to be able to offer it to the world. Disability Intimacy is divided into 4 sections: love and care, pleasure and desire, creativity and power, and everything and everywhere. There are original essays, reprinted pieces, and poetry on the nuances and complexities of intimacy. As with my first anthology, Disability Visibility, it is difficult to categorize a collection of wide-ranging work by such dazzling contributors. Referencing Wallace Stevens' poem, 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird, this book presents 40 ways of looking at intimacy. Among them, Nicole Schroeder on the love and kinship between disabled people, Sammy Schock on pleasure activism, Travis Chi Wing Lau on seeing himself reflected in a series of portraits, Moya Bailey on Black disabled doulas, Robin Wilson Beatty on BDSM, Grayson Brillmeyer on access, intimacy, and archival work, Ada Hubrig on their cat, Rosa Sharon, Elliot Kukla on being a disabled parent, Marie E.S. Flores on becoming a disabled parent, Mia Mingus on disabled heartbreak, Leah Lakshmi Piepsna Samarasinghe on longing, T. Franklin on finding disabled queer love, Sarah Young Bear Brown on the intimacy of beadwork and the wisdom from her ancestors, Pelena Keke Brown on the intimacy of performance, Sejal A. Shah on writing love letters, Khadija Queen on the illusion and intimacy of care, Ashley Volian and Akemi Nishida on reclaiming intimacy based on Crip wisdom, Cyrus Marcus Ware on love and activism, Gabrielle Peters on living in isolation and online community organizing, Melissa Hung on friendship, Maria Town on marriage equality and why disabled love is beautiful, the Redwoods on the intimacy of many people living in one body, sharing a life together, and much more. Poetry is an intimacy with language, and I hope you also enjoy works by John Lee Clark, Ashna Ali, Cyree Jarrell Johnson, and Ellen Samuels. This is a small sample of disabled brilliance that will provoke and seduce, inviting you to re-examine what intimacy can be. When I started working on this book, I Googled disability intimacy, and the search results were disappointing and pathetic. Ew, I muttered to myself. Under the People Also Ask section, questions such as, can people with disabilities find love, are what I considered basic AF. Articles on stereotypes, stigmas, sexuality, asexuality, sexual abuse, and sexual dysfunction abounded. Stories about and by disabled people on what it's like to date, have sex, or be in a relationship abounded. Intimacy is more than sex or romantic love. Intimacy is an ever-expanding universe composed of a myriad of heavenly bodies. Intimacy is about relationships within a person's self, with others, with communities, with nature, and beyond. Disability intimacy will blow your mind, leaving you shook and open to the possibilities around us. Each piece in this anthology is unique, but one theme that runs throughout is tenderness, an expression of all the labor and care the contributors put into their stories. I delicately gathered and edited this book with sensitivity, knowing how many people put their trust in me. Being thoughtful, intentional, and generous are acts of intimacy we can give to one another. I am not an expert on intimacy, nor am I here to define the concept to you. Since tenderness is a major theme in disability intimacy, it is only right for me to share a vulnerable part of myself that I have never written about or publicly discussed before. True story. I have never been in a romantic...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?